All right, we are live. NDI November, our month-long celebration of the technology that is NDI, Network Device Interface, invented by Newtek about 5 or 6 years ago. We've been celebrating this as our third annual NDI November. Woohoo! Happy birthday, NDI. And today we have a special keynote address from Tarif Sayed. He is the new director of NDI for VizRT, the company that owns Newtek and owns NDI. Welcome to the show, Tarif.
Hi, Gary. Thanks for having me here, and congratulations for the third year of NDI November. That's a great achievement, and looking forward for another 30 or 50 more NDI Novembers.
Hey, there we go. So why don't you start by introducing yourself and tell us what your role is now. I called you the big kahuna, the big guy of NDI, but give us a little of your background if you could.
Hi, my name is Tarif Sayed. My background is always in the media and content creation. I was a producer for a while, and then I moved to the technology. I worked at big companies like Dolby, Nokia in the audio, VR, AR space. And in April this year, I joined NDI as president and GM. As you know, NDI is part of VizRT Group, we have 3 different companies under the group: VizRT, Newtek, and NDI. And now we're building the team and to take NDI to the next level, to the next frontier.
Well, we're really excited. As folks know, NDI November is a celebration all month. We're going to be having webinars on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays. We're going to have interviews with people such as yourself. We're going to do product spotlights. We're going to have people on from various vendors in the NDI industry talking about their products. We're also going to have some user success stories with dealers talking about the projects that they put in place and the success they've had with NDI. So I guess before we get into where is NDI now, where is it going, let's talk about what NDI really is at its core. It's the network device interface. It allows you to basically do video without standard wires, SDI and HDMI, but with over standard Ethernet cabling as an IP solution. But it's much more than that. Give us a little bit of a 1-minute elevator pitch on what makes NDI so great.
So NDI, it started simply, as you mentioned, by replacing cables. So in the past, you used to have power cable, HDMI cable, SDI cable, and now all are replaced with one cable, which is your Cat5 cable. And with that, that makes the entire production and workflow much more streamed, easy to use. The main benefit, if I can say, of NDI, it's not only that it replaces cables, it's that connectivity and relationship between the receiver and the sender, those 2 endpoints, that they can talk, communicate, and exchange video, audio bi-directional. And that allows the technology to enable much more than even a production workflow. We are talking here over NDI. There are too many classrooms around the world over NDI. There are video gamers are streaming over NDI, and the use cases are really endless.
Yeah, what I like to explain to people is NDI replaces all those cables for the actual video and audio, but it's more than that because there's also a control and monitoring component that comes with NDI. So as an example, if you have a PTZ camera, not only can you control that PTZ camera from your TriCaster or from a control surface that's anywhere on the network, but also you can do things like color shading, and you can do comms, and you can do, it's just tally lights. It's such a more powerful way to produce a show. And, you know, when the world blew up and the epidemic happened, you know, the adoption of all streaming technology exploded. But NDI really made a lot of workflows possible that a lot of people never could have rewired their entire office building, studio, institution, whatever it was. But by using the gigabit Ethernet that exists in everywhere, you're able really to do live production and live shows. So we really are moving away from cables to IP workflows. And that's what, to me, is just so exciting about this technology. So talk about now, you know, we're on NDI 5.5. About 6 months, a year ago, NDI 5 came out, which is a major, major upgrade. With 5.5, we also get NDI HX3, which is a compressed version that's more like the full NDI. Talk to us a little bit about where NDI is now and where it's going.
So as you mentioned, NDI now, when it comes to, there's two sides of the story. One is the technology evolution, and one is the adoption, and they are going hand in hand. When it comes to the technology, what we're working on is to enable much more use cases. So when it comes to the higher end of the broadcast, clients and partners are looking for a better image quality with lower bitrate, and we worked on in 5.5, we improved that. And there are other use cases related to how I can do my production remotely. Also, that makes NDI 5.5, we enabled much more use cases. We enabled also on 5.5 more audio use cases. The ability and the flexibility to do more with NDI when it comes to audio, that thing. So when we talk about 5.5 and hopefully in the near future 6, it's the platform, it's the protocol. And that means the SDK will be sometimes updated, or one of the tools that the user use will be updated. And the i5.5 was mainly a huge leap forward toward allowing and enabling audio and remote production.
Now, one of the things that I think is most amazing about NDI is it really allows for video production to scale. So it can scale to be more people and more involved, but I also think it means it can scale up and down. So we've got people using NDI who are just single influencers or as a teacher to a classroom, small churches, big churches, houses of worship. We found it's really made headway into corporate video rooms where corporations are saying, you know, I have an AV conference room. Why can't I have a room that's a small production studio? Yep. I can use the same tools, the same NDI stuff. So it's so amazing where it is. And I think that scalability is really what you can't scale wires. You know, you just got to buy more wire and run them in tunnels and run them in pipes. But with NDI, we can really scale anywhere. And now with remote capability and things like Bridge, we can actually scale beyond the facility we're in into additional facilities. And people are doing so much more with that. But that brings us to a point that gets a little confusing is there's also technology called SRT. And SRT is another 3 letters, and people think, well, SRT and NDI compete with each other, but that's not really true at all. They completely complement each other, and each one makes the other one better. Talk about how NDI and SRT can grow together.
100%. We see each other as partners rather than competitors. SRT, it's great when you want to send a signal from point A to B. And it does the job very well. When it comes to NDI, it's about the connectivity and the relationship and the back and forth connectivity between those two devices or two endpoints. And that, as you mentioned earlier, it's not only about sending the video and audio from one point to another, it's about the bidirectional relationship, the metadata, the control, the discovery. And this is where NDI comes in place, is if you want to set up a production environment, whether local production or remote production, NDI allows all these cameras and tools and vision mixer and monitors to discover each other and send back and forth video, audio, and metadata over the protocol. And in some of those workflows, SRT will be there to deliver video from one point to another. In some other areas, SRT won't be able to, for example, make 2 devices talk to each other. And this is what NDI does.
And you know, you talked about audio a little bit. I see one of our guests said, are there plans for more elaborate tools for the use of audio over video? And my next question was going to be, what's the future of audio over NDI? You know, when I first was introduced to NDI and you guys launched it, my first thought with one of the cool products I was hoping to see was an NDI audio mixer, you know, with flying faders and all that cool stuff, because audio is so critical to video. In fact, quite frankly, we had to stop the show and restart it because we were having audio technical issues. And one of the most important things that I say to anyone, it's like one of my top tech tips is if your audio is bad, people will not watch your video no matter how good it is. If your audio is great, people will put up with a lot of pixelation and video problems as long as they can hear it. That's how our minds work. So talk about the audio tools and where you see audio going with NDI.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that question. I'm an audio guy, so I started my career as a audio engineer, and also I worked for many years at Dolby, where it's all about audio. And now, when it comes to NDI, our job is to enable everybody in the world to move from standard old-fashioned workflows to IP workflows. And then with our SDK, we enabled every software developer in the world to be able to innovate. And one of those innovation is audio. So as you wanted to see a vision mixer, well, there is one actually. One of our partners, they launched a vision mixer in the cloud, built on over NDI. And I just got a message actually from a friend who's telling me that there is some other manufacturer. They used our SDK to deliver a converter from AES-67 to NDI and to other formats. So NDI is there. Any developer can take it and build their software or hardware on it. And we're adding more and more capabilities when it comes to the audio, whether audio syncing, more channels, conversion between formats. NDI evolution is definitely going to enable more and more use cases on audio.
So let's go beyond audio and let's talk about, what technologies will NDI disrupt next? We're already seeing that NDI has made it into conference rooming and conference room type systems. And in fact, we're very close to being at a point where every conference room is a TV studio and every TV studio becomes a conference room. But I also see that it's going to impact some other areas like digital signage. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh, yeah. We see, to be honest, as you know, when people go to the website, they download the tools or they download the SDK. And from time to time, we analyze those downloads. And we always have those surprises about companies we never heard of or we never even imagined. They download those and they are building product on it. And some of them are, as you mentioned, digital signage. I think the whole idea of if you have a facility, a stadium, for example, or a show or a retail, and you want to have all this big, large screens and video walls, and if you want to have a more efficient workflow and less cables, and the ability, also the flexibility to transmit video, audio, and metadata between those sources, NDI is there. It's being used. Some of those places we were not aware, even as NDI team, we were not aware of some of those installation, but it's happening and it's there. Basically, if we want to look at the evolution, at the beginning, NDI replaced 4 cables with 1. And the future, we will be maybe no cables. With NDI Bridge, all what you need is to connect your camera to a laptop, and from there you can send that signal wireless over the public internet to anywhere and receive it from the receiving end and do whatever you want with that signal. So the evolution, definitely like anything going in the world, toward wireless, toward that ease of connectivity and communication between software, between hardware, software and hardware, and cloud as well. So the future is going to be,
look at digital,
the world is going to be a little small point.
Yeah. Digital signage, we're disrupting AV conference rooms. I look at some of the stuff that's going on with AR and XR, and I can see how NDI can be driving those screens. If you see The Mandalorian, they're not in front of a green screen. They're actually in front of high resolution television screens on where they're going. So the world, to me, is really changing radically. And I think the biggest change is that when everything's IP based, we're no longer constrained to physical, I wired this, I need electricity here, I need a wire to run here, I need a router to make sure a signal goes from A to B. Once everything's digital, IP and NDI, we can route anything to anything. So one of my favorite examples for digital signage is, if you're in an airport and a flight gets delayed, we'll take off the news and put on a comedy, so that the people aren't getting upset. As simple as something like that. You can pump in targeted ads over NDI if you wanted to. It could be an ad server in a digital signage world, of which there's so many capabilities. Let's get back to circle back though to like the studio and what's going on, because One of the things that I think is very interesting, and I'm going to jump here a little bit, and I didn't prepare you for this one, but like we use a TriCaster, we have a TC1 Pro here, and we love it. VizRT has taken the technology, and while it's not something we sell, it's something cool to talk about because you've actually moved that whole thing into the cloud as a service. You're still using NDI. So talk about that a little bit, how NDI isn't even locked into a local place anymore. It can actually be in the cloud.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you a story and then we'll take it to the cloud after that. I was at a trade show lately, and this guy came to me and he said, you're the president of NDI. I want to show you something. I said, show me. And then he opened his laptop and he showed me a piece of content he produced. Basically what he did, he do music jamming with his colleagues. So there was 5 musicians, each one in one place in the world, some in US, some in South America, some in Europe. Each one was playing an instrument in front of a camera. Yep. NDI. Everyone has an NDI bridge. They sent to him all the signal. He positioned all these videos on a virtual stage, and he was jamming music in real time with his friends.
No way.
Over NDI. Yes way. And that, think about that workflow. 5 different countries, 5 different cameras, 5 different laptops, sending somewhere in the cloud back to one place, created as a one experience, and then streamed on Twitch or in YouTube, on Facebook. This is phenomenal. This wasn't we never even, some people didn't dream about it in 10 years ago. Then let's think about what's next. Now, next is again what we talked about, cloud. When you have all these signals and cameras with NDI sending their signal to the cloud, imagine what we can do with that. The ability to change sources, mix sources, back and forth, it's just enormous. And the use cases become not only music jamming, become security, become digital signage. What if my video wall in this mall in San Francisco want to receive a signal coming from Berlin in Germany? It's like that. You don't need to worry about connectivity, about cables. You just need to press a button on a touch screen, and here we go. You have what you want on your screen. It's just phenomenal how cloud and protocols and technology like NDI are enabling that ease of use and connectivity when it comes to video and audio.
Last year, we had Dr. Cross on the show, a visionary inventor of former head of New Tech, inventor of NDI, and he talked about how the adoption jumped 5 years ahead during the pandemic.
Yes.
And now it was up to him and his engineers and his brilliant people to catch up to the level of adoption. That people were doing things beyond what the technology was, and they were basically designing products based on how people were pushing and using the technology, and hearing from customers and dealers and people who had workflow solutions and how it's grown. And I think the thing about NDI that I want to impress on everyone is whatever NDI is today, that's just what it is today. It is a growing, evolving, living thing that grows in directions of where the need and where the resources are. And the most amazing thing about it, it's about enabling people to tell their story, no matter where they are, no matter what tools they have. It's truly going to change the whole workflow of productivity. We've seen it on the level of like our customers in churches and schools and corporate video. I think you're starting to see it in the broadcast booths as broadcasters have become more comfortable and more confident in the technology. And the future ahead is just going to be amazing. So I thank you so much for being on the show to kick off this keynote. Guys, do we have that video clip available that we can play? The guys over at NDI have a little video they put together for us to wish us some good luck. So I'd like to play that video before you leave, because I want to thank you for putting that whole thing together.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, this is the NDI team, and we're all here gathering to plan our 2023. And we have some exciting stuff coming in the pipeline, and we're gonna tell you Happy NDI November!
All right. So cool. Thank you for getting your team to do that. Always when I do a show and I have someone on the show, I always like to say, this is your chance. Last word, anything you want to tell our audience about. It could be about yourself, about NDI. It could be about your favorite football team or your pet. The floor is yours. Take it away.
Thank you. I think what I want to say is we're really honored by all the support we see from the community. NDI now is not only a technology, it's really a community. And you mentioned Andrew Cross. Andrew's vision from day one that to make that technology available to anyone to build on it. And this is what we're gonna keep doing. There's you can go on our website, download the tools, download the SDKs, and build your dream, build your product, tell your story, and that's what we're gonna keep doing. And that community will keep growing and growing. And we are here as NDI to support that community and be part of it. And we're very, very happy with how we see moving forward. I mean, this event by itself is a proof about how big the community and how the community is committed to NDI and to the growth of NDI. So thank you so much.
Tarif, to give you an example, we're having a hard time because more people want to participate in the show, vendors, dealers, partners, than we have days in November. So we made it November because we felt, during the epidemic, we had to fill time. Now the show, we're going to have 3 shows a week. And I'd say next year we might be doing 4 or 5. And my production crew is going to kill me for even saying that. But I mean, we have so many guests, so many people coming up. In fact, I want to thank you for being on the show. And now we're just going to go into the promo for what's coming up on NDI November. I know tomorrow at noon we have JVC. We're going to be giving away a JVC KYPZ 200N 20X Zoom PTZ remote camera with NDI HX. But let's go through the whole schedule. If we could bring up we'll roll that video, then we'll bring that up.
NDI November is going on all month long for all things NDI. Your one-time registration gains you access to all the informative webinars with great guests and tons of giveaways. Check out the full schedule and register at NDINovember.com. Giveaway prizes include BirdDog P100, JVC PZ200N camera, Telestream Wirecast Pro license, New Tech University class, and more. See all the giveaway prizes and register now at NDINovember.com.